Hi everyone, I'm Megan and welcome back to another lab video for Analytics and Decision Sciences 4293 Professional Analytics. In this lab, I will be continuing to introduce the building blocks of Excel VBA. If you like the material presented in this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. The material presented in this lab will be based on VBA for Modelers, the 5th edition by Christian Albright, and case 9B11E019 by Dennis Lee, which you can find on Ivy Cases through the link provided below. For this video, I will be using Microsoft Excel and VBA. If you would like, feel free to open Excel and follow along as I introduce part 2 of the building blocks of VBA. Let's get started!
First, we will introduce worksheet functions. These are pre-existing Excel functions which we can call using worksheet function dot the function you want to use. So for this example, we're just going to sum the values of a range. I've prepared a 2x11 matrix that contains some random numbers that we're going to sum. So we're going to start by inserting a module, and we're going to write a sub called work func. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start and pick cells A1 to A11. And then in cell A12, that's where we're going to put the sum of that range. So all we're going to do is we're going to say range of A12. That value is going to be equal to worksheet function dot sum. And then we have our range of A1 to A11. And then we're just going to set the interior color of that as well, just so we do know that that is the value that we have summed, or like that is the sum value of column A. So we're going to do interior, and then our color index again. And we're just going to set it equal to 44 in this example. So then when we run that, we can see now we have 541 down here at the bottom, which if we grab all of these guys, it should be equal. As you can see down here in the bottom right, we have a sum of 541 as well. So that is how we can do that. We can also bypass the worksheet function using the dot formula instead of dot value. So up here we said dot value. We're going to change that to dot formula. So we have the range of A12 dot formula. So what this is saying is over here, if we go back to our worksheet, it's going to change the values in the formula box. So in this box right here, that's what it's going to do. So what we want is we want to put everything in quotes, and we need an equal sign first to tell Excel that we're doing a function. So we're going to say sum, and this time we're going to do both A1 and B, column B. So we're going to go A1 to B11, and then we can close our brackets. And again, we're just going to set the interior color index. Sorry, I want this to be cell B or column B. And we're going to just change this one to 43. So again, when we run this, we see now we have 981. So if we just highlight everything real quick, we can see down here again in the bottom, we have 981. So that works. So next, we're going to investigate some random functions which generate random numbers. So going over to the random number sheet here, in Excel, we have rand, which is RAND, and that generates a random number between 0 and 1. And then we also have rand between, which generates a random number between two specified values that you're going to get it. So when we're using VBA, just pull up our VBA editor. So when we're using VBA, we set the value to R&D for numbers between 0 and 1, and then we can use our dot formula if we want to use the rand between function and set it to two completely separate values. So we're going to start by creating a sub called rand func, and what we're going to do is we're going to set the value in A1 equal to R&D. So that's just going to pick a random number between 0 and 1. And then we're going to do the same thing for A2, but we're going to use the dot formula. So we're going to do our rand between. So remember, anytime you use a formula, you need to put that equal sign right at the beginning of your quotes. And then for this example, we're going to do between 10 and 15. So we can run this, and you see we get two random numbers over here in cells A1 and A2. So what we can actually do is we can run it again, and it's going to give us two completely different numbers. So I think we went from 11 to 13 and 0.7 to 0.5. So each time you run this, it's going to give you a couple new numbers to work with. So next, we are going to create a chart. So we're going to hop over to the chart sheet. The sheet labeled charts sheet, sorry. It's a tongue twister. And so what we're going to do is we need to select the data and then create a chart. So we're going to call this one CHRT. And first, we need to add a blank chart. So we add a blank chart. So to do this, we're going to say our sheet, we're going to go active sheet dot shapes dot add chart dot select. So if we run this, it should just pop up with our chart. So lucky enough, it added everything we wanted to. So if we delete this guy and select a random value, I don't think it would do that again. Yeah, so it just adds a blank chart. The only time it's going to add that chart is if we're selected anywhere in our range here when we run it. So the next thing we're going to do, then now that we have this blank chart, is we're going to select the data that we want to be sourced. So select data to be sourced. So we're gonna again do our active chart, and we're gonna set the source data, and then we're gonna say source is colon equal to our range of A1 to B12. So what this is saying is this chart is what we want, or this table is what we want to be sourcing in our chart right now. So the next thing we want to do is identify the type of chart that we want to use. So we want to identify type of chart. So we're going to set our active chart again. And this is going to be our chart type. And in this example, we're just going to do an Excel column clustered. And then we're also going to add a chart title. And to do this, we first have to set the has title equal to true. So active chart dot has title equal to true. And then we can quick give the chart a title. So to do this, we're going to say again our active chart dot our chart title, and then we say we want the text to be equal to sales per month. So if we run this entire block of code here, we're gonna get this new table, or this new graph, sorry, that has each of our months down here in the x-axis and then the total number of sales. So finally, we're going to investigate how we manipulate strings. So we can manipulate text using Excel's built-in functions, which are very useful when we're working with large amounts of text-based data. So these functions, or these text functions, are left, right, and mid. And if we want to use them in VBA, we use a dot formula, and then we can loop them. So for this example, we're just gonna split the 6 cells in column A into a few different categories. So we're gonna have ID, full name, first name, and last name. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up our VBA editor one last time, and we're gonna create a sub titled strng, or string. And then since we're looping, we need to declare an integer. So we're gonna declare I as an integer. So we're going to start by saying for I is equal from 1 to 6. What we want to do is we want to select our cell in column B. That's where we're going to put everything. So we're going to say cells I, comma 2 dot select. So the reason we're using I here is because we want to start with all the values in the loop. So it's going to start here in B1, and then it's going to move down in each iteration. So going back to our editor, we have selected where we want to put the information. So then what we can do is we can use selection dot formula, and we're going to set this equal to left A. So when we use this ampersand here, what it's saying is we're switching to this variable that we declared because we want to say it's in A1. So it's just connecting text with either, well, typically it connects text with variables that you've declared. So we're going to say and I, and then we're going to go back to our text, and we want the first 3 letters on the left. So if we go back up here, it's going to pull us 001 for John Doe. And then the final thing we have to do here, sorry about that. The final thing we have to do is just end our loop. So we're going to say next I. So what we'll do is we'll quick toggle through this line by line. So we're going to start in cells B1, and then it's going to run our formula. So if we look over at our Excel sheet here, we can see that it's left A1, and the 1 is coming from the I that we put in our VBA editor here. So if we do this again and do the next one, we're going to go down to B2, and then it switches from A1 to A2 in our formula box, and it's going to keep doing that for each of these values. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue writing our sub procedure, because now we want to add the full name of, in this case, we'll say their employees. So what we're going to do is we're going to say for I is equal to 1 to 6, we're going to select cells I, comma 3, because now we want to be in column 3. And then we're going to use our selection dot formula, and it's going to be equal to right this time instead of left. So we're going to use A again, and we want to select row I each time. So we're going to do the and I and then we're going to go back to our string. So we need to open up another quotation marks. And then we're going to say the length, Len, of A. And we need to call I again. So we have to use our ampersand. We want the length of that value minus 3 minus 1. So we're going to click select next I. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly just comment out our first loop so we can just look at the second one. So again, I'm just going to toggle through that line by line. So we start by selecting C1 and then we set the formula. So now we can see that we have A1 again. That's the cell that we're selecting each time. So we can expect the next one to select A2. And each time when we do this, we see that we're getting everything we wanted. So when we take the length of A2, we're taking the total number of characters in that cell, and then we're subtracting it by 3, which is our 3 numbers for the ID, and then 1, which is the space in between the ID and then the full name of the employee. So I'm just going to quickly run through all of these. Okay. So now we can do the same thing, but for the first name of the employee. So what we're going to do again is we're going to create a loop. So we have for I is equal to 1 to all the way to 6. So instead of going into column 3, we're going to go into column 4, which is column D. And then here with our selection dot formula, we have to change this a little bit. So we're going to do equal sign right, which is going to be, we want C in this case, rather than column A, because we just want to pull the first name. And then we're going to do and I, because we want that to change with each iteration of the loop. And then we're going to go back into our quotes, and again, we're going to take the length of C, and we want this to switch every time, so we're doing ampersand I again. And then what we want to do is we want to subtract the length by the location of where the space is in column C. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to find that location, and then it's going to just pull our first name. So to do this, we're going to say we want to search for a space. So we do double quotes, space, double quotes. And then we have C, and we want to, again, switch every iteration. So we have and, our ampersand, I, ampersand, and then we have to close out our brackets here. So we can toggle through this guy again. I'm just going to comment out the loop before this so we don't run it again. So here we go, when we toggle through it, we start in D1 and then we get the last name. Sorry, my bad. I was doing the wrong one. That's okay. We can look at last name in this example. So each time it pulls the last name. So then what we'll quick do is we will get the first names in column E. My bad. And then we'll be done. So our last loop, so we're gonna have for I is equal to 1 to 6. We'll close out the loop saying next I at the bottom. So we want cells I, 5. So that's going to be our column E. And what we want to do is, instead of using left like we did last time, or sorry, instead of using right like we did last time, we're going to use left. So we have our selection dot formula is going to be equal to left. So again, we want to pull from column C since that just has the name of our employees here. And then we're going to search again because we only want the first few letters, right? We just want the first name in this example. So once we search for the space, it's going to tell us where the space is, and then it's going to pull the like in front of that space. So again, we're going to do two quotes, space, two quotes, comma, C, and then we're going to use our ampersand I again, and then we're going to close out our brackets. So again, I'm just going to comment out column D so we don't run that again. And then we're just going to toggle through this guy line by line. So we're going to select E1 and then we'll put in our formula, which creates John. And then it should be Joe and Henry and so forth. So if we wanted to, we can run these all at the same time. So we can just quick take out B1 to E6. We're just going to delete those guys. And then if we go back to our Visual Basics editor, we can remove all of the comments on the previous loops. And then if we just hit the green arrow here and run that, we can see that everything just automatically gets filled in for us real quickly. So if this is a repetitive task that you had to do on multiple times, it would be useful to create a VBA code that could do it for you.
This is all the material I have for part 2 of introducing the building blocks of Excel VBA. I hope you found the material presented helpful when using Excel and VBA for decision modeling. If you like this video, please make sure you leave a like and comment, as well as subscribe to our channel. If you are interested in more videos, please check out our playlist where we describe other ways to use VBA. Thanks for watching. Bye!